what got you, let's start before this thing right here, I'm holding it, it's concrete in my hand. Let's go back in time before this thing has been birthed. What got you down this path? What was your inspiration?
One of the neat things about the position I'm in with Inc. magazine is that I do get to talk to lots and lots of successful people in a wide variety of fields. And so one day I was talking to Venus Williams, which is a fun name to drop if you're going to drop a name. And, I asked her about that moment that I was sure she had when she said, oh my gosh, I want to be a Grand Slam tennis champion. I want to be the number one player in the world. And that set her off on her path. And she didn't have that. She just wanted to get better at tennis. And that has really been her focus her whole life is I want to be better tomorrow than I am today. And so I started asking people that I talked to the same basic question. What was that moment for you? Nobody had one. None of the really successful people had that lightning bolt moment that I refer to in the book, where they went, oh my gosh, I want to be, I want to run $1 billion company, or I want to be a, world-class musician, or whatever it may be. They didn't have that. They just had an interest, and they said, I want to get better at this. And that was the process. And so then I compared that to all the people that would email me saying, can't find my passion, can't find my purpose. How do I get the motivation to achieve a big goal? They were all looking for the lightning bolt. So what I kind of came away with is, if you do get a lightning bolt, it doesn't last and it doesn't take you along forever. You have to have some sort of process that allows you to create your own motivation, just enough to get to the next day. So you get up and do it again and do it again. And it becomes this virtuous cycle of effort, a little bit of improvement, which always feels good. That makes you happy. That makes you excited. That makes you want to get up tomorrow and keep working at it. And you create that cycle of success, effort, motivation, and it rolls on from there. So that was really the genesis of it, was stop looking for an external source of motivation and stop looking for that lightning bolt, and just do something you are interested in and try hard to get better at it. Give yourself a little bit of time to get better at it, and the process of improvement will take you to where you want to go. Now, it may be that 2 years into it, you go, you know what? I thought this was fun, but now I'm not so sure I want to do this anymore. That's okay too, because you don't lose anything that you have put into it along the way. You may not use some of those same skills, but you take the process of knowing how to be a beginner and how to get to a level of expertise to whatever else it is that you choose to do. So none of it's wasted. Yes. And like Bill Walsh would say, you get to look back and connect the dots and go, wow, that was a really cool plan, even though I didn't have a plan.
Yeah. So, okay. So something else that's, gosh, there's so many things I want to ask you about. One of the things I'm going to, because it's just on top of mind for me, I wrote down when you were talking about even some of your journey and some of the things you did, and then some of the things you noticed and you wrote about in the book, I wrote down kind of this idea of burning the ships, like not having being all the way in. What role does that play in motivation?
That's a double-edged sword. There are people that will say, and especially since Inc. is an entrepreneur magazine, there are a lot of people that say, if you're going to start a business, you got to burn the ships. You got to quit your job. You got to go all in. That's the only way you'll have the passion and purpose and drive to carry your way through. If you're of a certain age and have kids and responsibilities and things, that's a risky way to go. So
that's fair.
My take on it is, and what I did when I started writing, I kept my full-time job. I worked really, really hard to make sure that no one in the world would notice I was doing anything on the side. I was as good of an employee as I could possibly be. Then I went home and figured, okay, if I'm going to start this, I've got to do it on my own time. So it was nights, weekends, it was that kind of thing. So you take care of your core, and then you go all in, with air quotes, on whatever your side project is or whatever it is you want to become. And in a way, what you're saying is I'm burning my free time boats, if you want to look at it that way, which is okay, because if what you want to do truly matters to you, then that free time stuff is important as what it is you think you want to become. So in a kind of trite way to put it, if you look at your me time, not as I want to sit on the couch and veg out and watch The Crown or something like that, which is nothing wrong with that. I watched it. But if you look at me time as I'm going to put that into something that I want to become, that's my me time, then now you have a passion and a purpose, and you've burned your veg out boat, but I've got another basket that I might be able to put some eggs in, if I'm allowed to mix my metaphors as I just did.
Yeah, I think it works great. So how do we screw this up? How do we screw up this idea of motivation and forward momentum and becoming the 2.0 version of us? Because I think that's really what you're getting at here. Really, we could also talk about that as saying, become the 2.0 version of you, whatever that is, and whatever you want that to be.
Probably the biggest thing that happens to people is they do get some sort of, maybe it's not a lightning bolt, but it's a little shock that says, I want to be X. And they go, oh my gosh, I'm going to start that. The problem with being a beginner, the good side of being a beginner is that your improvement can be pretty rapid. The bad side of being a beginner is you suck for a while. And so let's use a silly example, but let's say you want to run a marathon and you are starting from scratch. So if you go out and run a mile and you come home and you've struggled your way through that mile and you're on the couch dying, the idea that you're going to do 26 of those, there is no way. And so most people say, wow, I want to run a marathon. And they go out and they run a couple days, and it's so hard that they give up, and they haven't given themselves the time to improve a little bit so they can say, you know what, this is working. I can get there. And so I always say to people, if there's something new you want to try, I call it whatever days you want to put to it, but call it the 2-week rule. Say, okay, I'm going to give myself 2 weeks, and I'm committing to working at this for 2 weeks and actually working at it, not thinking and not dreaming and not playing around, but I'm actually going to work at this for 2 weeks. At the end of that time, you will have improved. You will have gotten better. You'll have seen that this thing does work. And then you can make a clear-eyed decision about, do I want to continue? Do I want to keep going? And usually you will. It's like the old advice about procrastinating. If there's something you want to do, if you just say to yourself, okay, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes, and at the end of 5 minutes, if I don't want to do it, I can stop. Usually once you get started, you're good to go because you've gotten over that little mental hump. And so the 2-week rule works on something difficult that you're embarking upon because it gives you time to improve and see that the process works, which motivates you to keep going.